What is up my dudes, and welcome to another video. As you can tell from the title, today we'll be detailing my Phoenix Yellow Civic VTEC. This one is going to be tricky, and you guys will see a lot of stuff that you've never seen me do or use before. Mainly because this car is a total respray. This car did not come in Phoenix Yellow. It came in a completely different color, so it has been resprayed to the Phoenix Yellow, which I'm extremely thankful for. If it hasn't been resprayed in the Phoenix Yellow and it was its original color, I would have never bought this car. I already got the touch-up paint to detail the car, and like I said, I already washed the car this morning. So the only thing left before you can start polishing the car is going to be to decontaminate the clay bar. That we will get into in a minute. But let me explain to you guys why it's going to be a whole different ball game on this car. As you can see, there's a lot of buffer trails on the vehicle, which is always expected after respray, to be honest. The reason for that is, obviously after the spray work, the car needs to be flattened or sanded down to make sure that the clear coat is smooth. And then after that, they give it a polish, which they rarely ever have the correct tools, equipment and knowledge to do a proper detail like I would. So they would basically, or most of the time, they would get someone with a wool mop to run over the car and get it polished up like this. It looks great, unless of course you put lights on it, then it looks terrible. So what we are going to do is we are going to remove as much of that as possible and as safely as possible. I'm saying safely because this is not OEM paint, so I don't know how thick the paint is on the surface. I'm gonna show you. I've got a paint thickness gauge. I don't think you guys have ever seen me use this. I don't normally show it in the videos because it's useless information for someone watching the video on OEM paint, unless in this instance, of course, where it's not OEM paint and we need to figure out how thick this paint is laid onto the surface. Anything that has been resprayed, even OEM paint, on the edges, the paint sits a lot thinner than on a flat surface. That's just the way the paint lays onto the surface when it gets sprayed. One thing I can show you is they already polished through it, and even there's a possibility for me that I can go through the paint. It's very possible. I do have touch-up paint, so if something happens, we will have touch-up paint to touch it up and to touch up that mark, as well as the front bumpers, stone chips and those type of things. So we can rectify it, but I'm going to try and avoid it as far as possible. But just know that it's still possible to make a mistake. Right there on the edge, you can see some white peeking through. That's where they already went through the paint. There's a couple of spots where that has happened. In the door here, I think without the light you'll be able to see it better. Right on the edge, they went through the paint. So there's a couple of spots on the car, which if you look at it like this, you'll never see it. But if you examine it from up close, you can see there where that line sits. Right about there, where they went through the paint. So you need to be extremely careful of the edges. But let me show you guys how we're going to measure the paint thickness to get an idea of how thick the paint is. Like I said, it's not a foolproof system. We can still polish through the paint, but at least with that paint thickness gauge, I'll have an idea of how thick the paint is, whereas like this, you'll never know. With this, it's obviously a little different because it has been resprayed, but normally we start measuring paint thickness in the door jambs because they are normally sprayed a lot thinner than the exterior. So you don't want to go below this reading, if I can put it like that. Let me power this thing up, and then that's going to give us the thickness. So we're gonna put it there. Then we get a reading 312. That's very thick. Even for a door jamb, that is extremely thick. 210. This is just to give you an idea of how much paint we have to work with. Let's take one here at the bottom. 370. Like I mentioned, that is extremely thick for paint, which gives me a warm feeling that they sprayed the paint thick. But looking at this, I don't know how bad they must have polished it there, or how thin the edges actually are. Let's check the actual body of the car. You're going to go around the car and take hundreds of measurements throughout the entire car to make sure that you get the correct measurement. I'm just using this to show you at the moment. 800, which gives us, let's say, roughly about 400 to work with. If we measure up there, we get 1100. So the paint on this is extremely thick. I can tell you that. 1700. It just keeps on getting thicker and thicker. Let's move to the front fender. 500. You can see the paint there is not as thick. Let's do one up here. 440, which it is still plenty thick, don't get me wrong. That is a lot of paint to work with. Let's grab one on the edge of the bonnet there. 600. That is a lot of paint to work with. I actually have a car outside with OEM paint. Gosh, I hope it's OEM paint. I don't know why I'm putting this down if I want to show you. Let me show you what this car reads at, and then we can compare the readings that we just got with this OEM paint job. Let's start measuring this car inside the doors to get a base reading of how thick these are. 40. That is what you'd expect from OEM paint. This should be between 80 and 150. Let's see. 150, there you go. So that shows you the roof. 60. That is extremely thin for the roof, to be honest. 56. Once again, that is extremely thin. That is almost the same as inside the doors. This should be between 80 to 150, like I told you. Let's check the bonnet. 110. So that's what OEM paint, that's how thick OEM paint is laid on. So as you can see, we've got a lot of paint to work with here, which gives me a comfortable feeling knowing that the chances of screwing this up is not much. I do have 8 years of experience working with paint, so it's not my first rodeo. I've done this plenty before, but like I said, anything can happen, and you know how it goes. The worst that could happen will happen to you. Before we get started, I'm going to go around the whole car, measure every panel in multiple spots to make sure that if there is a corner or whatever that has thin paint, that I am fully aware of that, so that when I get to the polishing stage, I know where I'm not able to cut a lot. I finally got all the readings around the car. Let me just clean you guys up. I finally got all the readings around the car, and I'm very happy to say that there's not one spot that is thin, that is alarmingly thin to me. All is in the region of 600 to 1000, 1100 thereabouts. There's not one spot that I'm concerned about, so I'm extremely happy to report that. Next up, we are going to clay the car. there is spots with overspray. In terms of the polishing, I'm not going to cut a lot. I'm not going for showroom finish paint on this. It is a resprayed car. It will never be perfect. So my main concern is to remove the buffer trails, remove the haze, and get the paint to pop, to be as clear as possible. I'm not going to go into orange peel removal and those type of things. I just want the paint to be clear. The clarity must be right up there. I'm pretty sure once I've done half a bonnet, you guys would be able to understand my vision. Can you see how hazy it is from their sanding? They're not able to remove their sanding marks proper. It is currently the morning of day 2. I got a very late start yesterday. I only got the bonnet done yesterday, nothing else. I'm not happy with this. As you can see, I already removed the washers. I am going to wet sand the bonnet now. I know that I said I'm not going to go into as much detail on this car, but I know it's going to bug me. And from what I can tell, it's only the bonnet that has sanding marks. So for now, I'm only going to sand the bonnet. This to me looks more like, that looks more like buffer trails than sanding marks. This is what the bonnet looks like, and this is what bugs me. You can see the sanding marks there. There's a few spots on the bonnet that looks as bad, but I figured I'm just going to go over the entire bonnet and wet sand the entire bonnet up here. I don't know what they did up here. When I removed the window washer, the paint chipped around it, but that's why we got the touch up. So we'll be able to touch that up. You can see how they filled it with, I don't know what. But yeah, we'll fill that up. But up here it is extremely bad. You can see the reflections there. This side is still a little hazy. I did not finish it up. I just removed all the cutting marks. That's what it looks like at the moment, and I am extremely happy with that. You can even see there's no scratches left. Here's some scratches on the edge, but to be honest, you'd have to look for them. You won't be able to just see them. If you check, that's where we were yesterday. You can see the sanding marks there. Then as we move on to today, that's what it looks like now. So it's a lot better. I'm extremely happy with that. I'm going to finish off this half of the bonnet, and then I'll do the finishing polish on the bonnet. Then the bonnet is complete. This is an extremely time-consuming process. I don't think you guys realize, but hopefully it's only the bonnet that needs this much cutting. The bonnet is always the place where you see the most damage and imperfections and stuff, so I think they went a lot harder on the bonnet than on the rest of the car. Fingers crossed that's the case at least. So it is almost 11 o'clock on day 2, and I just got the bonnet done. This is what it looks like. I am stoked with the outcome of this. There is 1 or 2 scratches left, but nothing that'll annoy me. It looks a lot better. I'll put on this light for you to see as well. It is a million times better than what it was. There's what it looked like. Well, the bonnet actually looked worse than that. and then there's what it looks like now. Reflections are sharp. I have not IPA wiped this, so there's still a bit of oil on it, but I'm happy with this. I'm gonna do an IPA wipe and then we'll start on the fender, and hopefully, like I mentioned, there's no sanding marks on the rest of the car. That'll make our job a lot easier. Our Vtec stickers came in this morning. I am going to put them on the car now. Hopefully I get them straight and not as shitty looking as the previous people. Another thing that I did while I waited on the stickers was I put a clear film on the headlights to protect them. They say the best film application is the one you can't see. I honestly outdid myself with these. Next up, I'm going to take my time with these stickers. It's basic, but I'm going to take my time to make sure that all the gaps are perfect. I'm going to look up a couple of pictures on the internet to make sure that we align them as best as possible and that they look OEM. After that, we can do an IPA wipe. Yesterday I did all the touch-ups. You guys would have seen that. I was quite bummed about that, and then a couple of touch-ups in the front. So the car looks phenomenal at the moment. After the stickers, here's one that I missed. I must touch that up. After the stickers is on, we are going to do an IPA wipe to clean all the polishing oils off the car, and then we can finally coat the car. I am going to go for Geon can coat. I'm not going to do a full Geon quartz coating. I want to swap out the wing. I want to change the front bumper and a couple of things. So I'm not going to go full coating, but a can coat would do the job. So you guys have seen me detail this over the course of 4 days. What took us the longest was the wait for the stickers. Honestly, this could have been a 3-day job, but it's still 3 days. So if you guys want to find out pricing for detailing your cars, please don't ask me if you guys think a detail like this costs you R1,000 and it happens in a day. For 3 days labor, the pricing is a lot more than that. So I'm not going to take offense if you guys don't ask me, but don't expect it to be R1,000 or R2,000 for a detail like this. It's definitely not that. So if that is what you're looking for, please don't waste my time or your time. It's not going to happen. We did the black sticker there, and we also did the headlights. I did the clear foam on the headlights. I can't remember if I showed you guys, but we did the clear foam to protect the headlights, as well as a 2-step with a Geon can coat. This car has been washed after the detail. I washed it on Monday. It's currently Saturday, so it's been a week since it's been washed, or almost a week. I had to wash it on Monday after the drag racing video. The car was full of rubber from the burnouts, so I had to wash the car, but as you can see, it looks phenomenal. It has been 5 or 6 days since its last wash, so the coating it's amazing. It's a lot of money, but it is an amazing product, and I promise you won't look back. One thing that I did not touch on was the wheels. I didn't do much to the wheels. I didn't take them off, polish them, clean them thoroughly. I didn't do any of that. I am going to swap the wheels, so once we get new wheels in, the wheels will be coated before they go onto the car. So I'm not phased too much about this, but with the new wheels we will ceramic coat them before they go onto the vehicle. So that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and hit the bell icon right next to that to stay tuned with future videos of this car and drag racing content. But that's going to be it. I'll see you in the next one, bro. Peace out and reflect your passion.